Everyone, this is Triple Play Fantasy, your football show, getting ready for the NFC West Divisional previews. We will be right back after our intro. Hey everyone, like I said, this is Triple Play Fantasy. I'm your host, Zach at Batman. I am joined today by Brad at Sir Brad Lee K, Joe Pepe at JPep20, and Doc at Trip Play Fantasy. We've covered the first three divisions of the NFC. Go check those out on our YouTube channel. Got a lot of great content in there. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you have any questions during the show, please drop a comment on Twitter, or not Twitter, on YouTube, because Twitter does not let us see the comments. Facebook works too if you're over the age of 40 to 45. We appreciate it. So thank you all for tuning in. We're going to get right into it with the NFC West. So Doc, obviously you have to talk about the 49ers because they are your team. They won the division last year, so we'll start with them.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, the 49ers. Like, they're the runner-up in the NFC, and it would have been a different game. I'm not going to say win or lose. Would have been a different game if they had a healthy quarterback. It would have been different. Wait. Get Joe in here for a sec.
Nope. Would not really have been that different.
Regardless of win or lose outcome, can you agree the game is different?
I mean, I still would have won, so I don't know how different it would have been, but it would have.
There might have been lead changes. It could have been an injury there. It could have been a closer game where you have to script differently. We see the Eagles under pressure. You can't say it's a blowout like it was.
I don't know. Everybody else was a blowout for us, so I don't see why you guys would have been any different with a quarterback who played like 8 games and finally would have faced a good defense, because that entire streak really wasn't that hard for him. I still would have been on Broad Street
because I'm not a huge Brock Purdy stand. What else did you want him to do?
Play a team that's a little bit better than some of the teams he played.
But that's not in his control.
Oh, I know. It's nothing in his control. I'm not mad at him for it. I'm just saying that it would have came back down to earth, and it would have been over when we had like 52 sacks.
Right, in one game. 2022 was awesome. Let's talk about 2023. This is what happens when you get an Eagles fan and a 49ers fan talking NFC North. So, Doc, tell me what's coming for 2023.
I wish I could tell you at the quarterback position. When you look at Fantasy Pros, Trey Lance is QB 31. Sam Darnold is QB 36, and Brock Purdy is QB 25. And we don't know who is starting week 1. If all said and done, I would take Darnold if I have to draft any 49ers quarterback this year. We don't know if Purdy is going to be healthy. We don't know if Purdy is going to be healthy to start the season. And with Trey Lance, he's coming off his own injury, and the 49ers might trade him. And I'm saying take Sam Darnold because he's the lowest valued one at pick 271.
That's interesting. I can't really disagree with you. You're more in the weeds on the 49ers than I am, but in my personal rankings, I have Trey Lance higher than all of them just because of the upside and how they drafted him. But, in fairness, you're completely right. He's been a trade rumor.
They didn't give Sam Darnold $4 million guaranteed to be a third string the entire season. Whether Lance and Purdy aren't healthy, I think Sam Darnold has an outside chance to be week 1 starter. Outside chance.
Yeah.
So I'm staying away from the quarterback position. A player I'm fading on the offense outside of that is Deebo Samuel. Right now, wide receiver 16, ADP at 56. He's a guy that his 2021 season, 1405 receiving yards and another 365 rushing, 14 total touchdowns. That's his ceiling, but I think he's a better real-life player than fantasy. Last season, 56 catches, 632 yards, 2 touchdowns, and only 3 touchdowns rushing, so 5 total. Once again, I think he's a better real-life player. Wide receiver 16 is very rich to me. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, the rookie I like, and it's going to be an unpopular opinion, Jake Moody.
Ooh.
A
I mean, you
kicker.
guys drafted him super high for no reason, so why not?
Wait, what do you mean
he's
no
good.
reason? Robbie Gould
Because
is
I
gone.
could go kick you a field goal. Draft me in the 6th.
I mean, hey, Joe, put a video of you kicking a 45-yarder, and I'll
Listen,
retract that statement.
We already see him kicking an exercise ball, and he can't even get it 10 feet. So
Listen,
let's not waste our time on a 45-yarder.
I'm going to put an exercise ball in front of all 3 of you. We're going live. I'm going to put you in a gym. We're going live, and you're all trying it. And then you're all going to understand how hard that shot is.
Yeah, I'm not saying I could do better. But I think the 49ers, they score a lot of points. They're a team that relied more heavily on the kicker. Jake Moody went 60 of 60 on PATs last year. He has a strong leg. He had 10 field goals from 40 and over last year. And a sleeper I like for the team is Jordan Mason. He's a guy I touted last offseason. And you can check our YouTube video. But basically, I don't trust Elijah Mitchell from a durability perspective. And we saw some great games out of Jordan Mason, 4 for 64, and he got tackled outside or inside the 1-yard line against the Seahawks, 2 for 13 and a touchdown against the Raiders, week 16, 8 for 28, week 17 against the Cardinals. Now, they didn't use him against the Eagles because they were essentially killed, but he's somebody. Christian McCaffrey gets hurt or it's a change of pace back. I'm liking the value you can get on Jordan Mason. A hot take I have is that he outscores Eli Mitchell this year.
Wow.
All right. I like it.
I'm going to be real sad in best ball.
Yeah. That's fair. Brad, so you have the surprise of 2022. Nobody expected Seattle to do anything, and they were actually a very solid team. So what do you think of them this year for 2023?
They were, yeah. I expect them to be better as a whole this year. So from a fantasy standpoint, we'll look at the QB first. Geno Smith is my QB 12 on the year, and that may be kind of low after his breakout season last year. He threw for 4,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, and led the league in completion percentage, which is no small feat. It's hard to call, such a thorough, great season a fluke, but it was a contract year. And I don't really expect him to repeat that performance, mainly because I think they're going to be a better team this year, which leads to more running and less opportunities to throw. I think they'll be ahead a lot more this year. So at my QB 12 ranking, I think a high-end QB 2 tier is about right for him. You'll feel comfortable filling in your roster with him as a mid to late round selection, but you're not going to go reaching for Geno Smith. I'd say as my sleeper this year, I'm going to go with Tyler Lockett. He's essentially overlooked every year despite performing year in and year out. He's taken a bit of a hit in the offseason rankings because people are excited about their new rookie wide receiver out of Ohio State. But it doesn't really matter who the QB is. Lockett has always stayed the wide receiver 2 behind DK Metcalf, and I don't think that's ever going to change. And most importantly, he just got married, so as one of the most famous professional athlete virgins, he's going to be a completely changed man this year. We got to factor that in. And then lastly, or I guess for our most overrated, we're going to go with Noah Fant. I kind of just have to put somebody there. I don't necessarily think he's overrated, but if I had to put someone there, it's Noah Fant. At the end of the day, Fant's he's not one of the coveted tight ends in fantasy, and he's not game planned for. Disley is his number 2, so he's always good for an unexpected, 2 touchdown performance game out of nowhere. You never know who's going to be the man, Disley or Fant. So he's someone you should let fall to you and not reach for. And then lastly, for my exciting rookie, I'm going to go with Jackson Smith and Jigma. He's a 6-footer out of Ohio State. He's not a speed demon. He runs a 4.6 40-yard dash, and he's not a huge catch radius guy. He's simply a beautiful and smooth route runner, much like Tyler Lockett. To have a player who's able to play on the outside and in the slot, I imagine he'll be used a lot as a possession receiver, and his role will grow over time. In his 2021 season at OSU, he had 95 catches, 1,600 yards with 9 touchdowns. So he's got the potential to make Seattle one of the best wide receiving cores in the league. I don't think he's going to be there yet, but towards the end of the season, I think we'll see what this wide receiving core can really look like.
Do you guys want to know a hot take?
Always from you.
Well, first of all,
boy.
Brad, I looked. Geno Smith led the league, or was 8th in pass attempts last year, which is kind of wild.
It
but
is.
I think Tyler Lockett retires after this year, and I
Whoa.
think the Seahawks knew that, which is why they take JSN.
He's only 31.
Listen, I'm just finding out he was a virgin, so I mean, I'm
famously
still caught in the back.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't. But Tyler Lockett, like if you've looked at like videos, he gets down, like he avoids hits. He's really into real estate. He seems like a really smart guy. You know, sometimes when people are like, you know, when I want to play X amount of years, or I want to play till I'm this age. Yeah. Tyler Lockett seems like that guy that's okay retiring young.
I hear that. I just had never considered it. That's the first time I'm hearing of it. But yeah, you make a good point. He's well-rounded. He's got a lot of other career aspirations other than football.
He's made good money in the NFL too.
Yeah, yes. And he's taking a lot of hits too. He's not the biggest guy in the world.
For redraft, he's still always underrated.
Yeah, and he's the best. He's the best player in best ball that you could possibly get all the time in that category. So
it's a great point.
Yeah,
awesome.
And fun fact before you move on, though, Zach. Fun fact. I was reading something where Kobe Parkinson gets more targets than Noah Fant in the red zone last year.
There you go.
I'm glad you brought that up.
He was the headliner of the Russell Wilson trade from a player perspective.
God. Yeah, I don't know. Drew Lock, just because he makes me laugh. He makes me laugh.
Seattle getting rid of Danger Russ.
Yeah,
probably was the headline. But that brought me up to a great segue for my my dad joke. Is you ready, Joe?
Oh boy,
Noah fantasy points. So.
Oh my God, I'm going back on. I'm going on mute.
Well done, Zach. Well done. That was a great dad joke. I approve.
Thank you.
Have you been taking host lessons from David?
I'm trying. I've been studying all the game film. Going back in the archives. But we will move on real quick before we get to the Rams. I just want to shout out Underdog Fantasy. We got about 6 weeks left of the Underdog Fantasy season. Great way to prep for your redraft leagues is to do some Underdog Fantasy. It's better than mock drafts because you're putting some cash on the line, and we will help you get an extra $100 up to $100. We'll match it if you use promo code TRIPLE TRIPLE. So get in there now before it's too late and have some fun drafting and hopefully make some money. And with that, we will get over to the LA Rams. Just a couple of years ago, they won a Super Bowl. They said F those picks, and now they are selling everybody away because they got nobody. But there's still some fantasy gold, I think, that people are sleeping on. QB situation is really easy. It's Matthew Stafford, obviously the clear starter. It's just a matter of whether he can stay healthy or not. Consensus ADP has him at QB 20. So basically, you can get him at the end of your draft. And I actually think he's a sneaky good late pick. There is injury risk, but if we're going to assume that he is healthy, I mean, we've seen him put up plenty of points, and you can literally draft him for free at the end of your draft. For the fantasy sleeper, he is not an actual true sleeper when we talk about sleepers, but there's not a lot to go with on this team. So I'm going to go with Cam Akers. He's the RB21 at pick 64. I just feel like he's being slept on due to his Achilles injury about 1.5 years, 2 years ago now. Brian Drake at Drake Fantasy on Twitter just tweeted this out today. Some great stats for Akers. So Akers was number 2 in the NFL on a percentage of team carries inside the 5-yard line at 88.9%. Granted, they probably didn't have a ton of carries inside the 5 last year. That offense was not good, but at least we know that he's the goal line back. And then from weeks 13 to 18, so the last 6 weeks to finish the season, he had the 5th best yards per game for running backs, 85.3 yards. He was number 1 in missed tackles forced with 31, and he had the 4th highest points per game for PPR with 17.9 for running backs. So we ended the season strong. I feel like a lot of people are kind of sleeping on him just because they're afraid of those injuries, and he probably did them dirty a year or two ago. So I like Cam Akers at his value. Overvalue player, there is none on the Rams because they don't have any other players.
Do you think Cooper Kupp is overvalued at all?
Oh, not at all. If you want to take him as wide receiver 1, you go for it. I wouldn't take him as wide receiver 1, but I would not argue with anybody that wants him. I mean, he was the wide receiver 1 in points per game last year. So we can't assume injury. There's always that risk for any player. But I think he still has it.
Yeah, you can't assume injury, and I know Allen Robinson wasn't good last year, so I'm not saying he was. But this is probably the worst. This is probably the worst Rams team in recent memory. And like Stafford, now we have to worry about the accuracy of Stafford getting him the ball. I'm fading Kupp everywhere.
I got
you fade him.
I got him ranked as my number 2 wide receiver overall, and I think a bad Rams team is all the more reason to have Cooper Kupp.
Bad defense,
Keep throwing the ball.
Well, that's the thing with Matthew Stafford too. He switches every year. He goes from really good fantasy to really bad, really good, really bad, really good, really bad, and he was really bad last season. Obviously, this man's got talent. He still has the arm. We all knew he had an injury, and he was still peppering the hell out of Cooper Kupp. So there's nobody else to throw to. Who are you going to throw to? Tutu Atwell? He's this big.
Yeah, but can't you use that on the flip side of teams? They're going to take away Cooper Kupp and let somebody else beat them.
It's one of those. Can you take away Cooper Kupp because he's that good at what he does? I don't know. I don't know if you can.
Zach,
this was the issue with Amon-Ra St. Brown for me, where I was like, oh, they could just take him away, but the dude's just too good at running routes, so he keeps getting open. And the same thing here.
I do think you can take someone away if you completely want to.
You can take Terrace Marshall away.
Yeah, you take Joel Embiid away from Philly.
Zach,
I wish you would.
Let's answer NBA Riggs question here. How would you rank them?
Sure. So we're talking about Tannehill, Stafford, Geno, and Purdy, and we're assuming all 4 are starting. So I'm assuming this is for a redraft as I would draft them. I'm going to go with Geno, Purdy, Stafford, Tannehill in that order. But Tannehill and Stafford, you could flip-flop, but they don't throw it enough. We just talked about how I don't think the Rams are going to be good on defense. I think Stafford's just be throwing the ball all over the place, which leads me to my rookie as well as Puka Nacua. Everyone's talking about him, and by everyone, I mean everyone on Twitter, so most of you have no idea who I'm talking about. But Puka Nacua is the rookie, 6'2", plays faster than he actually tests. His numbers aren't great from a speed perspective, but he's very productive in college, 83rd breakout age, and you probably don't need to draft him. Keep an eye on him. Let's see how he does throughout the season with his route running, his targets. If you see that starting to trend up, then you go ahead and grab him on waivers. Get him when you can get him for free. But I'm keeping an eye on Puka Nacua, but I don't recommend actually drafting him unless we're in a deep league.
Yeah, I like him. He's got a lot of talent, though. I like him, but I just don't want him to be really popular because I don't want to try to keep saying his name.
He's so fun to say, Puka Nacua. So with that, Joe, finish this
of people's whose names it's hard to pronounce. Him at wide receiver, Alberto at tight end.
No, I'm not even trying that one. I'm not doing Chig either. They can both.
We run 2 tight end sets with him and Chig.
Is there Bonaconda? Yeah.
No, he's out.
Yeah. Oh, I got them all. I'm like, do I say the name?
Who's our quarterback? We need to figure this out.
I'll think of one while Joe's telling me about the Cardinals, who is the dumpster diver of the NFC West. I mean, I would hope they're trying to lose, but no one else really tries to. No one tries to pull a 76ers in the NFL. But tell me what's going to happen with the Cardinals.
Well, first off, I just want to say that the show sheet here says Josh is telling you about it, so I don't know who the hell Josh is, but I got it. I'll do it. But I'm not touching this quarterback situation. I've wrote so many articles about why Kyler Murray, even if he does play, isn't worth it because he's not going to be the Kyler Murray of before. He's not going to be the mobile running around quarterback. He's just lost D-Hop. They're going to slow this offense down too. 1, if Kyler Murray does come back, you want to protect them. 2, their defense is atrocious. And how do you hide a bad defense? You run the ball and you slow the game down. So Kyler Murray's not going to have those crazy, 17 points a game he's averaged his entire time in the NFL. I don't see that if he does play. And if he doesn't, I don't want Colt McCoy and I don't want Clayton Tune unless I'm in a super flex and I'm absolutely dying to have a second or third quarterback on my team. And at that point, just give me whoever's starting, but I'm not drafting any of these guys. The only person I'm super excited about, and I guess like you said with Cam Akers, I don't know if this counts as a sleeper, but James Conner. I just went over it. The defense is atrocious. They're going to slow this game down. There are no other running backs on this depth chart, and the quarterback is going to be either Colt McCoy or Clayton Tune. The Arizona Cardinals are getting a defensive-minded quarterback. He's going to take that ball. He's going to run it 20 times a game. He's going to try to win these games like 17-14 and get out of there. But like you said, they're basically the Sixers from the past for the NFL. They're trusting the process
Joe,
right
have
now.
a friendly bet on James Conner?
Always. What's the bet?
Oh, well, his season prop line is 675.5.
Over.
So he had 183 rushing attempts last year. He only had 9 that went for 10 yards or more. He is a plodster.
Over.
I don't like plodsters.
I'm
Over.
with you on the over.
Over.
Okay.
He's a plodster, but he's going to get 25 to 30 carries a game.
Who are you giving that ball to?
25
There's
to 30
nobody else
carries.
there. There's nobody else there.
He had 2 games with 20 or more carries last year.
But that's
This
with
is a
like a
different
Kyler
team.
Murray,
Yeah.
air raid offense, DeAndre Hopkins. Like none of that's there now. Now it is going to be slow, ground and pound, and they're going to try to win these games low because they can't go into shootouts with people. They just don't have that ability. And I wrote an overvalued player than Rondell Moore, but he stinks. Oh, go ahead, Zach.
They're gonna try to lose the games, but keep it close.
That's what they need to do because they have this pick and the Texans picks next year. They're aiming for like a Marvin Harrison Jr. and maybe a quarterback or somebody else, depending on where they land.
I will say, don't sleep on Clayton Tune there. Those Houston quarterbacks that throw for like 8,000 yards a season, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want any part of the offense in the passing game version of it. So it's not really much on Clayton Tune. Like, yeah, I'll use him if I have to, but like I said, the overvalued player is Rondell Moore. He's tiny. He's going to possibly be like a 4th, 5th option, depending on Trey McBride. And you still have Hollywood Brown. You have James Conner. Again, slow offense. And I guess if I have to pick
offense for a slow running back.
Listen, if he's getting 20 carries, though, I'm taking it. Especially if the line's in the 600s. That's wild to me. That's way too low for me, and especially where you can get James Conner as your second running back, and you know he's getting you volume. Volume is king for running backs. Just give me that all day long. And fantasy sleeper, I guess, is Clayton Tune, but I really don't think he gets the job. Colt McCoy's been there too long. That'd be such a disservice to him. There's no loyalty in that play. I don't think that happens. He'll play at some point. He just won't start the season.
18 touchdowns 2 years ago, 8 last year. Never had 1,000 rushing yards.
Who else is touching
I'm not
this?
dropping this, by the way.
Listen, if it's Clayton Tune and Colt McCoy, are you going out and saying you're throwing the ball 35 to 40 times? No.
They're getting shut out or scoring like 3 points every game. It's not like they're going to score 20 points.
They're not throwing the ball. Honestly, Josh Johnson in the NFC Championship game is better than those 2 options. I would take him over these guys. I would take Eli Mitchell over him. Who was going to be the backup? Christian McCaffrey at that point in that game? Take him over these quarterbacks because these quarterbacks are atrocious. Colt McCoy is way past his prime, and there wasn't really a prime. And Clayton Tune is a possibility, but I don't see it happening.
They want to tank. It's a new coach and a new GM.
Exactly.
That's why they're not going to play.
What's the easiest way to tank? You run the ball 3 downs, and then you punt it. And you use James Conner because there's nobody else there.
Exactly. They're going to run him 3 times, but he's going to get like 3 carries for 8 yards, and then they punt it. And they just do that over and over and over.
We need a new segment of Joe and Doc argue about the most
trivial, stupid players.
Yeah, the most unimportant players in fantasy football, and we'll spend 5 minutes every show on we'll do like an after show of who are they going to argue about.
I actually really like that idea.
Yeah,
let's play some bets of who's all right. So next week, listeners, if you guys watch this, whenever you watch it, we're gonna do whenever the next episode comes out. It'll be the AFC East. Go ahead and submit the 2 names you think that Joe and Doc are going to argue about, and they have to be players that really don't matter, that no one is actually hoping they have to draft to win them a fantasy league. So you got
Patriots wide receivers.
Yeah, I can't even get with any Patriots wide receivers. So.
It doesn't have to be a Patriots. We have the whole AFC East, so get creative. And speaking of the AFC East, I wanted to finish this up real quick with the tough names. It's Tua Tagovailoa at QB. That is how you pronounce his name, but so many people do not pronounce it correctly. So he's the easy 101 at QB for the tough name. So I had to finish that one up.
I thought of Shane Zylstra as our we're running 3 tight end sets. We're running the ball every play. Like the Cardinals will this season.
Yes. That's why you draft James Conner.
James Conner gets overworked and injured in week 3, unfortunately.
They don't need him next year. He has a potential out. So run him to death this year and move on. Oh my God!
All right, perfect, Joe. Like that. Let's move on. All right, that's the end of our show. For the 2 people that are still watching, we appreciate you staying on. For Joe and Doc, just not letting go with James Conner. But seriously, please submit your guess for the AFC East. It's going to be great. I would love to see someone get it right. None of us know who it's going to be. They don't even know who it's going to be. So thank you all again. Please tune in. If you are still watching, we appreciate it. If you already tuned out, come back again, watch the replay. Make sure you hit like, subscribe. The guys are putting out so much great content. It's Triple Play Fantasy. We got you covered with baseball, basketball, and football. So have a great one, guys. Hang in there. Good luck. And I guess go James Conner. Is that that who we're rooting for? Maybe Terrace Marshall, Cole Kmet. I mean, we've talked about a lot of trash. Have a good one, guys.